If you're looking for a little bit of wrestling history, then you've come to the right place because boom, just like that, it's Thursday night and it's time to hang out with us. It's party time with the Video Bros. My name is Bobby Munson, the man sitting beside me, the man with the angelic voice. He's Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, happy Thursday. How you doing, brother?
Woo, happy Thursday to you, Munson, and aloha to all the wrestling people out there, the PPW Nation, the Hawaiian wrestling fans, and all the wrestling fans. Glad to be here on another Thursday night for Ring Respect Radio.
You betcha. We're going as far west as we can with this trip through the territories, and we'll get to all that very, very shortly. Of course, we love to kick things off first and foremost by saying hello to our live chat. Of course, Zach coming in here saying good evening to us. Happy Thursday to you, my friend. And of course, it's Basser in the house. How you doing, brother? Good to see you here on a Thursday night. Yeah. And as always, the lovely Mel Ball is up in the house joining us. It is here too. And look at this. Just coming hot off of doing a reaction video to a couple of the latest Marvel trailers. It is Andre. Andre, yes, and yes, go Canada. 6-0 victory tonight for Team Canada. We love it. And it's always a party when the Manglers here on a Thursday night. Hello, gentlemen, and looking amazing. Papa Smokes was the words used right there. You're looking very dapper tonight, Papa Smokes. There's an aura about you, sir.
Yeah, dapper and also laid back, man. I'm in the Hawaii mood tonight. I'm feeling like catching a wave and chilling out on the beach, baby.
Yeah, so, sometimes going out to places like that, they can have some pretty interesting weather conditions, I'd say. We've had some interesting weather conditions here as well, too, and every time that those interesting weather conditions roll in, man, Papa Smokes, I just got to drop this one more time. It means that we've got a storm warning on the horizon because PPW presents Storm Warning coming up in just over 1 week's time. It's Saturday, June the 27th. The seats are sold out. The general admission tickets are flying off the shelf. If you don't have yours yet, what are you waiting for? Get in on it. And you know that next Thursday night is our Prairie Pro Wrestling Storm Warning preview night, and I've got a great announcement because we got some guests joining us. Before that, Papa Smokes, how excited are you for Storm Warning coming up?
Extremely, Munson. It always seems like a long time in between PPW shows, but I think part of that is just the anticipation of the next one. And hey, you and I'll be we'll be there. We'll be doing camera work and then it's good to see all the PPW Nation out, all the wrestlers out, and we're going to have a good time next Saturday night at Storm Warning.
We definitely are. Are we now ready to find out, Papa Smokes, who's going to be joining us next week for the PPW Storm Warning show?
I think we should let him in on it because I'm also very excited about this.
All right. Well, next Thursday night, for the very first time here on Ring Respect Radio, our special guests on the program to help us preview PPW's Storm Warning and also talk about their big win at the last show, which declared them as the new PPW Tag Team Champions, the Brotherhood. Bucky McGraw, Wrestling's Smartest Man, and the Dixie Dragon will be right here on Ring Respect Radio next Thursday. Pop Smokes, I think that people are going to either love this or they're going to hate it, but they're going to get a re-education next Thursday here on Ring Respect Radio.
Oh, great booking by you, Munson. We've got the tag team champions in the house next week. And I've wanted to speak to Bucky McGraw on this podcast for a long time because he's wrestling's most intelligent man. I know he's going to have some interesting things to say, and I'm always down to talk PPW, especially with current wrestlers in our company. This is going to be great.
It's going to be a good interview. Of course, we had Jacob Creed from the Brotherhood on recently as well, too. Pop Smokes, very interested to pick the brains of Bucky McGraw and the Dixie Dragon, the new Prairie Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions, and what are their plans moving forward? You can find that all out next week, and you can also get your questions in for the new tag champs as well too, because they will be joining us here on the program. And joining us in the chat live, it's our good friend Astrid Bizarro. Hello, Astrid. Thank you for being here on a Thursday night along with us. Astrid and I just wrapped up recording a couple of new episodes of Killer Cuts coming up. One of those being Obsession that'll be coming up if any luck tomorrow. I'm hoping to have it ready for. We'll see. This weekend anyway, I'll have that one out and ready. And then we did Sam Raimi's Send Help as well too. That one's going to be coming out in the not too distant future. So stay tuned for those awesome episodes. But yeah, speaking on Prairie Pro though, Pop Spokes, I am very damn excited to see what is going to unfold here, because what a lot of people are ignoring, especially right now, is that this is the second last show before the big one, before the Ring of Horrors. This is that momentum point. This is where you want to really shine. And of course, right now, the Brotherhood shining. They've got the tag belts. They've got Jacob Creed in the heavyweight picture. They took out the main event at the very last show, wiped them clean, made sure that nothing happened. The Brotherhood are almost unstoppable at this moment. And I'm curious to see who in the back is going to band together, who is going to try to stop the momentum of the Brotherhood going into this thing. And is this the moment? Are we going to see Creed and Michael Allen Richard Clark finally lock up for the PPW championship at this show? Or will something change? Will that, distance be made between these two? Because we know inevitably that it's going to boil down to that, and Creed is going to get that shot at the champion.
Yeah. And I know that I feel the same way as the PPW Nation after the last show. The Brotherhood came out and absolutely ransacked that main event. We didn't even get a match. We got a beatdown. We got an attack. It was brutal, and it was very frustrating for those of us watching. And I know the PPW Nation was left in a state of frustration at the end of that card. I didn't like it any more than they did. I don't think you liked it, Munson, but all this does is just build up Storm Warning as the next big show. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see the level of frustration that might be present in Riley Cruz and our champion, Michael Allen Richard Clark. They've got to be feeling some intense frustration. Clark's been dealing with El Asesino over the past year. Now he's getting attacked by the Brotherhood. Now everybody's getting beaten down by the Brotherhood. They've got some gold around their waist in PPW. They're gaining momentum, and they don't care what it takes, and they're not going to stop till they get what they want. So everybody better watch out. Jacob Creed's coming for Michael Allen Richard Clark, and we're going to see that showdown eventually. Will it be at Storm Warning? We don't know yet, but stay tuned. Buy your tickets. Don't waste any time. There's probably still some standing room left, but you better get your tickets now. We're just barely a week out from this.
You bet. And yes, good evening, Brett. Thank you for joining us in the house on
Brett.
a Thursday night. Appreciate it. And Bobby's favorite wrestler, LS, is here. He's my favorite wrestler to watch get pinned by Soup Nasty. That's for damn sure. But, we'll see what happens with El Asesino on Saturday, June the 27th. Make sure that you're there live in person and have your voices heard. But if you can't be there live in person, remember those releases come out on YouTube, and you can also join us, like we said, next Thursday night to get your questions, or maybe in a guy like Basser's case, your beef out with the Brotherhood for having wrecked that main event at the previous one. So yeah, Bass, all that frustration that got built up after Resurrection, you can feel free to take it out on the new tag champs here live next Thursday night, my friend. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a doozy. I know Brett's hankering to hear us talk about some old school wrestling here very, very soon. But yes, you may have some beef. Keep it.
Oh yeah, no, we know that.
You know what kind of things we get away with saying here on Ring Respect, Bass. Keep it to video bro level trash talk, and that's what we got. Video bro level trash talk is a-okay. But yeah, we're going to get into talking about the old school stuff here right away. But just a quick update. I'm not sure if you saw Fusion this week yet, Papa Spokes, but another great one from MLW over on the cards there. The main title was on the line in the main event. It was Riddle versus Killer Cross Part 2. Overall, again, Fusion on a roll right now. I'm loving watching the MLW stuff.
Oh, and the card looked really good. I didn't get to watch it in any detail, but I saw some of the events that happened in replay and all that kind of stuff. It looks like MLW is getting their stuff together. We've watched for a number of years now. We've seen it go through some peak periods and some really low down periods as well. But since Fusion has been back on YouTube as a 1 hour show every week on Saturday, it looks like it's got a little bit of a renaissance going on here. I like some of
Mm-hmm.
the talent they've got. I like the strong connection with Mexico and the luchadors that they're bringing in. I like the connection with Japan and some of the good wrestlers they're bringing in. And then I also like that they seem to be giving a stronger focus towards the women's division, or formerly what they called the featherweights division. I really like what they've got going on there, and they've got some better talent, so they can really, really focus on that ladies division more. Change of the championship, I noticed, and from one of my current favorites on the Indies right now, Shotzi Blackheart, taking that title, and it's really looking like a fresh period of new excitement for MLW.
It really is. Yeah, they got a lot of great stuff going on, a lot of great names in the main event picture. Of course, Alex Hammerstone, again, putting himself right into that top picture as well, too. We know he had a great run as the MLW champion. He might have an opportunity to eventually become the only other two-time MLW World Heavyweight Champion if the momentum for Hammerstone continues on like it is. He's more aggressive, he's more violent, and he's not going to take shit anymore. And it's a great look for Hammerstone moving forward because let's face it, people found the babyface run a little bit stale by the end of it, and that's why they were quick to, cheer on Alex Kane, who inevitably was the heel at one time and took a complete 360. And so now, ever since Hammerstone's return, he's come back as this heel, this badass, this I'm not going to take shit from anybody kind of guy. And I like it. It's a great look for a big dude like him.
Absolutely. And when you and I first started watching MLW, Alex Hammerstone was a heel in that company, in the faction known as the Dynasty, with Richard Holiday and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So we know that he's comfortable in that role. He can wear the sunglasses and the collar up. He used to have that white leather jacket with the collar up, looking like $1,000,000. But this is now a different version of heel Hammerstone, I would say. Not so much the cocky, arrogant kind of heel, but the angry one, the frustrated heel that wants his way and wants that championship, wants to get in the picture there. And if Killer Cross is going to be the popular champion that he is, that kind of opens the door for an angry Hammerstone to come in and challenge. So imagine the kind of beef that's going to get slapped in a big match like that. That could be awesome, and I hope we get to see that.
The Blood King versus the former champ Hammerstone. I am ready for it. Bring that on, MLW. Can't wait, but build it. Do a classic MLW. Make us wait a little bit. Feed some more people to cross before we get to that point. Make it the magic that we had. I mean, maybe we'll never get quite that magic that we had when it was Fatu and Hammerstone, but if we can get something similar to that, enough of a build where it makes it magical, man, that is going to be one hell of a fight. I can't wait. And at the same time, I can't make the people wait anymore, Papa Smokes, because they came here for a trip through the territory. So I think it's time to give them a trip through the territory. So yes, welcome back. It's a trip through the territories. Tonight we're heading, as I said earlier in the show, further west than we've ever been before. Thousands of miles from the mainland of the United States. It's a wrestling territory that was built on volcanic islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a territory produced of some of the toughest wrestlers in history, and a territory that gave us the Samoan wrestling dynasty. We're going over to Hawaii. We're checking out Polynesian Pro Wrestling, presented by the High Chief Peter Maivia. Papa Smokes, why don't you give us a little lay of the land when it comes to Hawaii and this territory?
Hell yeah, Munson. Let's get down to work. And you know what that means? Yeah, we're down to work, baby, and let's have a good time talking about this.
Cheers, bro. We'll pretend like I've got something more cheer-like in the bottle here tonight.
Yeah, that's not like you, Munson. You don't have a cocktail or a beer going tonight?
I'll be honest, Pop Smokes. I haven't been hitting up the drinks as often these days. I've been slipping a little bit, my friend. But we'll get back to
Munson, do I need to take your temperature? Are you okay? This doesn't sound
him.
like it.
Yeah.
Is that you, Munson?
I swear, it's not a doppelganger. I just been taking it a little bit easier at times. Age
No,
age
no.
catches up on you. The party doesn't stop, and
Oh,
mentally, but internally, sometimes you got to give it a rest.
I'm crying for you, Munson. You're so old that it's you got to change your ways.
I know.
The world's smallest violin is playing for you right now.
I'm sure it is. but cheers anyway, Papa Smokes. My apologies for not having
For
a drink
sure.
on hand.
No, no, it's all good, man. Okay, let's get down to business here. We got a beer cracked and everything. Let's talk about Hawaii. Hawaii consists of 137 volcanic islands. It is a U.S. state, but is geographically and ethnologically part of the Polynesian subregion of Oceania. So this is a state, but it is not part of North America. It is 2,000 miles from contiguous America. So quite a long way out into the Pacific Ocean, which is a massive ocean, as everybody knows. It, the Hawaii or the Hawaiian Islands were first settled between 1000 and 1200 current era by Polynesians under numerous chiefdoms. The United States of America annexed the area in 1898, turning it from an independent kingdom nation into a U.S. state. Now, we all know about colonization and stuff. It is not a nice process usually, and this was taken by force. There was some bad blood at that time, obviously, and there still is, but the reality remains that Hawaii is a state of the United States of America. Its economy revolves around tourism and the military. The U.S. valued this area for its military uh, value and strategic value. So, like I was saying, the Pacific Ocean is a giant area. The U.S. wanted this area because they can put a naval base there, which is very valuable for its future military operations, which might have to take place in Asia or the eastern side of the world, which we saw in World War II. It was a very valuable military base to the United States of America. And Hawaii hosts the U.S. Pacific Fleet, the world's largest naval command. So that just tells you of its military importance. Now, the major islands, I said there were 137 islands, but there are four major ones. Oahu is the largest, sorry, not the largest, but the most populated island of Hawaii. The capital, Honolulu, is on Oahu, and two-thirds of the residents of Hawaii live on Oahu. There is also Maui, there is also Kauai, and there is the island of Hawaii, also known as the Big Island. So geographically, Hawaii is the largest island, but not the largest in population. Now, Hawaii is, yes, as I mentioned, 2,000 miles from the United States. It has a tropical climate and is quite mountainous. A lot of these mountains being formed from cooling lava because of all the volcanic activity out there. Um, yeah, I found this an interesting idea. The islands are distant from many other major land habitats, and life is said to have come to Hawaii by wind, waves, and wings. So that having been said, birds are one of the only animals that can get to this island. So they brought seeds on their wings, and the waves brought life to the Hawaiian Islands by the movements of water. So Hawaii has a unique combination of flora and fauna, a combination that isn't found anywhere else in the world. So very, very interesting place. They have unique flora and fauna there. And the language, culture, and subculture have evolved from Polynesian sources. So Polynesia and Oceania, referring to the nearest islands to there, including Samoa, including Tonga, including Fiji, and many other Polynesian islands in the Pacific Ocean area. So this is really neat. This is quite unlike geographically the other territories we've looked at, which are all part of the contiguous or continent of North America and the United States of America. This is a bit different than that. It's way out in the ocean, so a different geographical area than we're used to looking at for the rest of the U.S. territories.
And yet such a great area as well too, because you've got such close proximities to such hotbeds for wrestling talent as well. So you had Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, Mexico that are kind of like right there to be able to have talent with that travel. And if you've got talent traveling, say from anywhere in North America over to somewhere like Japan, or say vice versa, when people are coming out of Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii is that great destination of in between as well too. And at the time when you got wrestlers working the kind of dates that they are on the road and everything, and they're going to be going overseas to do this kind of travel, why not a nice little tropical vacation with a payday at the end of it? I mean, you can't go wrong with being asked to come to work in Hawaii at that time.
Very much so, and we'll talk about this as we talk about the history and evolution of pro wrestling in Hawaii. But yes, you touch on a very, very major theme here, is that it was the go-between between the United States and Japan. So a lot of the traveling wrestlers, especially if you were a name of any kind of value at that time, probably what you might do is the western coast of North America. You might do Vancouver, Oregon, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and then you would plan your tour so that you could do your Japanese tour from there. But that's a very, very long flight. And as Brett has helpfully pointed out here, that's a good go-between. You could take your flight from Los Angeles or San Francisco out to Hawaii, stop there, have your little week's vacation, maybe 2 weeks, but you could work there as well. So you would see everyone from world champions such as Lou Thez and Nick Bockwinkel, guys of that caliber, would take their trip from Los Angeles or San Francisco out to Hawaii, take their vacation. They could still work. They could do high profile matches and even title defenses in Hawaii, then go to Japan. And a lot of these Japanese tours in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's a long trip, so you don't go over there for nothing. You would book a month, 6 weeks maybe, do your whole tour of Japan, do Tokyo, Osaka, all the other big cities over there. Then on the way back, you might also work Hawaii, because your plane, of course, would have to refuel there, but also people need to refuel too. So you just take your stop there, you take your rest, you hit the waves, you hit the beach, and then you can work 1 show, 2 shows, 3 shows, however many you can do in the time you're there, or however many you want to do, and then come back to the United States refreshed, paid, and all that stuff. So what a great opportunity that is for the traveling territory wrestler.
Yeah. And never be apologetic about getting your voice heard there in the chat, Brett.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you want to add to the conversation, that's what we love to see. So we'll do as much lecturing as we can, but we want to hear from you if you got things to add to it as well too. Like by all means, my friend. And we should go back and say hello to Ed, who said hey during some of that conversation as well too. But thank you for being here, Ed. Appreciate you as well too. But the territory itself, though, Pops, folks, interestingly, a lot of people know and understand the involvement of the promotion of High Chief Peter Maivia and the story that came from that. We'll talk a little bit about that, but wrestling actually dates back a lot further in the Polynesian Islands than that as well too. Some of the history actually dating back to the 1930s. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ed Francis, one of the most well-known promoters to book the Polynesian era prior to it going over to the High Chief Peter Maivia.
For sure, but even before that, if we want to start back in the 30s when wrestling shows first started getting thrown in Hawaii, yes, it was called Mid-Pacific Promotions. Notice even that name suggests kind of a go-between. Mid-Pacific, right in between Los Angeles and San Francisco and Japan. So Mid-Pacific, that's exactly the what Hawaii was for the traveling wrestler. So by 1936, promoter Al Karasik had formed Mid-Pacific Promotions, had Bobby Bruns as his booker, who's a famous name in old-time wrestling, especially for his affiliations with Sam Muchnick. Now, we've talked at length about Sam Muchnick on this podcast, and he is vital name to the territory era and to the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance. He was the president of the National Wrestling Alliance for over 20 years and a uh, very prominent name in wrestling history in the U.S. Very respected man, very fair man, and a very good organizer and president of the NWA. So having affiliations with Sam Muchnick was vital to anybody that could have it. Bobby Bruns really getting uh, uh, Hawaiian wrestling on the map as a major territory in the U.S. and doing the booking for Al Karasik right back from the 30s, but all the way through to the 50s.
Yeah, and just to sidestep for a second here, Brett saying since we're in the Polynesian region, was New Zealand a big part of the territories? And
Yep.
I mean all those kind of areas were a big part of the territories. In fact, the best way to learn more about that, Brett, if you haven't done, I know you've gone back and back cataloged a lot of Trip Through the Territories, but our one that we sat down and did for New Zealand, where we had special guests on, including, of course, James Shaw, the Divine Light, David Dunn, but more importantly, Ost, who sat down with us and is an absolute historian of professional wrestling out in New Zealand, gave us the full description of the history of pro wrestling that he has the knowledge of and collected over the years, from as far back as it goes to about the 1990s, I think, is where that's when that specific episode starts to go over to James Shaw and David Dunn, and they start to explain more of the latter years and the independent scene in New Zealand as well too. Still one of my favorite episodes of A Trip Through the Territories to date.
Very much so, and one of our best and most comprehensive episodes. Quite a lot thanks to our guests, and including Ost, who just did a beautiful job of going through all that history. It was so interesting. He's like a university professor or something. He's just got it all down. He gives the whole history. And in all honesty, when we were doing research for this episode, I wanted to maybe see if I could listen to a couple of podcasts about that history. It's not much out there. So Ring Respect Radio is probably one of the more comprehensive histories of New Zealand, that particular episode. And again, many thanks to our guests who really gave an illuminating study of that era and that place in time for pro wrestling. So yeah, you would be surprised at how many of the big names came all the way over to New Zealand. There were NWA heavyweight title defenses and all that stuff in New Zealand. So I highly recommend listening to that episode.
Yeah, Brett says you got saved for watch later, so happy for that. Back to you, Puffs.
For sure. Have a good time with that, Brett. But yes, we talked about Bobby Bruns and his affiliation with Sam Muchnick. So by 1949, Mid-Pacific Promotions joins the NWA as a full-on member. So you know what membership in the National Wrestling Alliance means. You get to be part of the tour that the heavyweight champion makes. Now Hawaii is on the map officially as one of the territories that is recognized by the NWA, and they get the champ coming to town. So from the days of Lou Thez and onwards, we see the NWA champion making regular stops in Hawaii, and we see that Harley Race had some very prominent matches out there. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, and Jack Briscoe, and some of the other champions. It was part of the tour, so that that's a huge, huge help to a wrestling promotion. Getting that notoriety, getting those real big money stars that you can see on TV, and the guys running at Honolulu's Civic Auditorium, that really, really lit the fire under Hawaiian wrestling. It really started getting the big crowds out by the 1950s. Karasik and Bruns doing really, really well in this mid-Pacific promotions.
Yeah, it's a lot of great stuff that they're kind of lost where I was on my notes here. Papa Smokes just getting
No,
enjoying the listen, to be honest with, enjoying the ride here, to be honest, listening to you.
I can keep going here because Karasik started doing so well in the 50s and early 60s that with the backing of the NWA and with the blessing of Sam Muchnick, Karasik started expanding even into Japan. Now, we'll talk about Japan more thoroughly at some point in the future when we continue our territory talks outside of North America and the Western world. We do want to do this. It's a huge topic, but Japan was a huge battle between the promotions there, between AJPW and NJPW. Basically, it became Antonio Inoki versus Giant Baba, Shohei Giant Baba. That became a massive battle. So to think that an American promoter was trying to get into that territory and take some of the towns and take some of the talent from there, imagine how much of a battle that must have been at that time. I can't speak to how uh, successful he was at that. I don't think very, but it is still interesting that an American promoter thought that he could and tried to get in there to take some of that Japanese territory. Wow, it shows how well he was doing in Japan to think, or sorry, in Hawaii, to think that he could maybe stroll into Japan and take a bit of that territory. That shows he really must have had strong backing and strong financials at that point.
Yeah, you would have to in order to make that bold of a move and everything. So he definitely quite an interesting take there, as Brett getting quite excited about it too, and same with Melball. Remember, when we get to the point of talking about some of these other places, we always like to have guests. So Melball, keep it on your radar that we might be knocking at your door for a special guest when we talk about the history of Japanese wrestling.
Yes, what better would that be than a Japanese wrestling expert such as Melball? I would love to do that, and let's do a full study. Let's go right back to the beginning, right back to wartime and Ricky Dozan and some of the old stars that were absolutely massive in Japanese wrestling, and let's bring it up to the present. We can do that with our combined expertise.
I think we can. Yeah, we'll make that happen for sure. So, so catch me up here, Papa Smokes, because I'm going along with what you're saying. I kind of started around the time of Ed Francis owning the company. And him, basically being the guy that started promoting, doing really well, good business stuff for the territory, and really making it, something that was on the map.
For sure, that's right where I'm going now too. 1961, Al Karasik retires and sells the company to Gentleman Ed Francis, who, by the nickname, you can see that he used to be a wrestler himself. And Ed Francis changes the name to 50th State Big Time Wrestling. Now we've seen this moniker Big Time Wrestling used a few other times in the territories as well, including Detroit with the Sheik and San Francisco with Roy Shire using that big time wrestling. It's a good name. It has a good ring to it, but 50th State Big Time Wrestling was around from 1961 to 1982. So this is really the prime time of Hawaiian wrestling. This is the golden age of Hawaiian wrestling. Ed Francis continued running at weekly at the Honolulu Civic Auditorium, which was the building in Hawaii for wrestling. It was a mid-sized building. Unfortunately I don't have the specs on its capacity and all that at hand here. It was kind of a mid-sized building, not a giant building, but a mid-sized building. So you and I know this, Munson, from indie wrestling around here. Sometimes you don't want the giant building because it doesn't have the same ambiance as a mid-size or smaller building. So the Honolulu uh, Civic Auditorium had tons of sellouts. So you know what sellouts means? It's packed and the fans are all in there together. And their enthusiasm catches like wildfire amongst the rest of the crowd. So this was perfect for Francis and 50th State Big Time Wrestling. They've got the packed building. They've got the frenzied fans in there. And it was really a big thing for that 20 years that he ran it. It was huge and very popular.
Yeah. Quick hello to Eric joining us in the chat. Thank you for being here on a Thursday night, Eric. Appreciate you being
Hi,
here.
Eric.
But he was also well known for getting the TV off the ground as well too. He had great ratings with his television. He was a very charismatic man, very good television personality, and also ran the commentary a lot of the times for the shows that he was booking. So that helped to really drive the area as being a hotbed for professional wrestling as well too, with that kind of guidance and that leadership that they had from him.
For sure. He was good. And then he also had a right hand man that we're going to talk about for a little bit here, too. And some of you wrestling history fans will recognize his name, Lord James Blears. Now, he was a longtime former wrestler from England. Let me just say, I know Lord James Blears because in his later years, he joined the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, Vern Gagne's company out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, as an authority figure and on commentary too. And this is where I first know Lord James Blears from, but he's much more well known for his time in Hawaii. He took over as Karasik's booker. He had a fertile and vibrant booking mind. He kind of leaned towards the wackier side of gimmicks and storylines and stuff like that. There were very many colorful characters and some very colorful storylines as well. He went away from the kind of more traditional booking style, which makes it look, more sporting. Everybody's a wrestler and a grappler and that. No, Blears went for the wilder side of things. You remember Pampero Firpo. He was known as the missing link when he was out there. He was a wild man and all that stuff. They had various other characters that were just very colorful and very lively in their presentation and all that. And Blears liked the comedy a little bit more. And this seemed to work very well at this time in Hawaii. So Blears, um, very important character in Hawaiian wrestling. He had been a wrestler since 1940, not only in England, but in New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, as well as Japan and Australia. So you know that Blears was acquainted already with this. As I like what Brett called it, a bridge between the two worlds of wrestling, not only from contiguous North America, but to Hawaii and then across to Japan, Australia, New Zealand as well. So you know that Blears came in very familiar with this traveling route and really just making the best of that in his booking, and then involved in some financial company decisions too, which they really needed the minds that were familiar with this whole traveling route so that he could relate to the wrestlers that were working there and then traveling this route as well. In the 60s and 70s, we had some very famous wrestlers not only compete in Hawaii, but that were built up there as well. Name a few: King Curtis Ayakea. Do you know who that is, Munson? You would know his picture for sure. I think of
Yeah.
him as he's got the most scarred forehead of all the wrestlers, and I'm including guys like Bruiser Brody and Abdullah the Butcher in that too. His forehead is a roadmap of gig marks. Um, WWE centric people will remember him possibly from the 90s. He had a run there as a manager. He was called the Wizard, and he managed the Head Shrinkers, which
Yep.
were just basically a updated version of the Wild Samoans. And yeah, the King Curtis, the Wizard, he's a wild guy. He's very, very scary in his appearance, and he had the wild voice like this, and he could cut a good promo and a very scary heel for a long time out in Hawaii. Neff
Yeah.
Maivia was the precursor to High Chief Peter Maivia. He was a big baby face, Neff Maivia. Don Morocco, a big favorite of mine among not only just Hawaiian wrestlers, but WWF wrestlers later on in his career, known as the Magnificent Morocco. And notable also, Sammy Steamboat. Now, no relation to Rick Steamboat, but Rick Steamboat took his last name from Sammy Steamboat because there was a physical relation there. Sammy Steamboat, just that well-developed physique, just absolutely beautiful body on the guy, very good-looking, handsome guy, very, very popular babyface in Hawaii at the time. No surprise that Rick Steamboat would come after him with the same kind of idea. Uh, White meat babyface, really just a great wrestler. Uh, just his bread and butter was his wrestling skill and his awesome presentation. Hugely popular babyface out there, Sammy Steamboat. And I wanted to bring up another couple of famous wrestlers from this time. Johnny Barend, he was a heel out there, but a very influential heel. A lot of people haven't heard of him if they don't know their Hawaiian wrestling. Once Johnny got out there, he was so, I shouldn't say popular because he was a heel, but so influential out there. He was the kind of cool heel. He had the sunglasses, he had the cigar all the time, but he was charismatic. So he was one of those heels, was hated to a certain degree out there, but he had such a charisma that the fans couldn't help but like him because he was handsome, he was cool. Had those promos. You might have seen some of the clips in your research for this too. I'm not sure why exactly, but before he cut a promo, he would always come out of the coffin. Like they would always have a coffin standing up, and the door would open. Johnny Barend would come out of that coffin smoking his cigar and then just cut his promo. Extremely cool for the time and extremely
Yeah.
influential. Anyone that's interested, try and find some of his stuff. There's not a ton of it out there, but you can get the sense of what a cool guy he was. And he coined a very, very famous phrase, not only famous in wrestling for many wrestlers using this phrase after him, but many people outside of wrestling have used the phrase: win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. That is a coined phrase right there. That's been used so much throughout wrestling and throughout the wider world as well. So Barend, a top heel in 50th state wrestling for a long, long time. He's infamous in Hawaii.
For sure. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Curtis Iakia as well too, because I mean he was a great, you know, like I mean knew about him a little bit before because of mentions and stuff like that, but I did a little bit deeper dive this time around on him, and he is something else. He is quite the character.
He
They had
is
a lot of really great wrestling that came out of this territory because not only did they have some of their own talent that was there that was fantastic, but the talent that they could bring in to work with them. So they had, you know, these great massive feuds. They put Curtis Iakia in with just about everybody. The crowds hated him, but there was comedy and danger at the same time. You had, you know, absolute dynamite feuds between like High Chief Peter Maivia and Abdullah the Butcher, or even Peter Maivia and Don Morocco, as you were saying, which really helped to boost the love for this territory. And even the stuff you can find, and it's minimal. That's the bad part. Trying to find stuff online is very scarce for this. But what is out there is fantastic to watch, and I wish there was more available from these times.
for sure, for sure. I wish there was more, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of tape out there on this. But we'll keep this going. 50th State Big Time Wrestling was at one point the most watched TV show in Hawaii. Their first show was on Saturday afternoons on KHVH TV. But as they gained in popularity, he moved up to the bigger station, KGMB, and started getting their signal going all over the Hawaiian Islands. So once they got that bigger TV deal, of course, this is in the days pre-cable. We have to remind everybody your reach as a TV show only went as far as the station's signal would reach. So the bigger station you could get on, the more markets you could reach. And they wanted to get the smaller cities in Hawaii as well so that they could run spot shows and do tours throughout the islands as well, not just Honolulu. So this was a good TV deal for 50th State Big Time Wrestling. And so let's keep this going. By the mid 70s, the Honolulu Civic Coliseum closes. So it had been a building for a long time. It was starting to get in disrepair. They closed down that Coliseum, and this hurt the promotion financially quite a lot, to the point that they never really recovered from it. They started running in the Honolulu International Center and the Block Arena, but times had changed. These were bigger buildings and much more expensive to run. So the promotion started hurting financially. So eventually the strains started showing so much that Steve Rickard, working with Blears as booker, eventually has to sell. And who does he sell to? High Chief Peter Maivia, who was a star in Hawaii, but had also made his name in the WWF in the old days of Vince McMahon Sr. He had been a big star in Hawaii, a big babyface, working with all the big heels at that time. Never had a run as champ. This was during Bruno's era, but Maivia, very, very popular babyface during those days. So Steve Rickard, by 1980, sells to High Chief Peter Maivia, who changes the name to Polynesian Pro Wrestling. And this runs from 1982 to 1988. Now, unfortunately, Peter Maivia was to die 2 years later in 1982. He died as a relatively young man in his early 40s. So his wife, Leah Maivia, takes over the promotion and continues to run it. And she is notable for being one of the major female promoters that ran a major territory promotion during these days. We've talked before about San Francisco, about Los Angeles, and Eileen Eaton. She also was a prominent female promoter in the times when that wasn't smiled upon. It wasn't easy for the ladies to get high positions in wrestling like this, but she did it very well. Now, Peter Maivia and Leah Maivia are Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, his grandparents. So you mentioned the bloodline. This is where it's really starting to gain a ton of power in the wrestling business. Now, Leah Maivia continued to run this Polynesian Pro Wrestling with his a certain amount of success, she booked a big super show in 1985 called A Hot Summer Night. It was August 3rd, 1985, at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu, in conjunction with Vern Gagne's AWA and Jim Crockett Promotions and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is really a big super show early in the days of holding giant shows like this. Of course, there had been a WrestleMania already, but the idea of having large pay-per-view status shows was starting to catch on. This show, A Hot Summer Night, drew 15,000 people and had 16 matches on it. So this is a big show, especially for Honolulu, Hawaii. It had a number of huge name American wrestlers in there, including, I'm not going to go through all 16 matches, but Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA against the Russians, Nikita Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev. Crusher Khrushchev, who would later be the Repo Man and Smash from Demolition. The semi-main event was Antonio Inoki versus Bruiser Brody. Now that's a big money match in Japan. Yeah. Baby, that is a huge match. And then the main event was Ric Flair defending the NWA Heavyweight Championship against Siva Afi, who they were really pushing in Japan as being kind of the next coming of Jimmy Snuka. So Afi never really took off outside of Hawaii all that much, but this was them pushing their big homegrown star against the traveling champion, Ric Flair of the NWA. So, wow, this was a huge thing for Polynesian Pro Wrestling and a huge thing for Hawaiian wrestling. Big super card. And it did very, very well. They threw another one the next summer. It didn't do as well. And by this time, business was starting to go down a little bit. All they really had to run was Honolulu. They tried to branch out to the other islands and do some of the major cities on the other islands, but costs were rising. They didn't have so many sports venues to run in, and the rising costs of top-level talent really started to take its toll on the promotion. So by 1988, just as the territories in all of North America were starting to run into a lot of trouble, many of them were closed already by 1988. Polynesian Pro Wrestling closes the door, calls it quits, and by this time, just as in the other territories that had closed, you know who's coming in to take that, to fill that void is Vince McMahon with this now Vince McMahon Jr. with his national cable deal. He wants to be the only show in town. He doesn't want to share with the local promotions and the territories. He wants it all for himself, and he's going to go in as an aggressive business, scoop up all their talent, take their take their main venues in which to run and put the Maivias out of business. So same story as we've seen in all these territories so far. They couldn't compete with national expansion. Vince McMahon wins this area as well. Now WWF talent is the only thing you can see in Hawaii.
Yes, and that being the case for a long period of time, but there is now these days some smaller promotions that are running out of the Polynesian Islands and everything, and all the credit to them. Got to do more research. I'd love to do a deep dive, find some there. Maybe there's a good one we need to check out and review here if we can find it over on the YouTube side, Papa Smokes.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at wrestling will never die in any of these areas, but it just had to cope with this giant national bulldozer force of the WWF. And as you see, it continues now. There's TKO Sports and the large company, and then there's all that other stuff, and they try and eke out a living where they can, but it ain't easy with the giant business force known as TKO Sports.
Yeah. Brett, thank you very much. We're glad that you come here, you're active in the chat, and that you really enjoy the program. It means a lot to us and everybody else who comes here every Thursday or watches on replay. We really appreciate every single one of you. It's amazing. Almost forgot. Congratulations. Thank you. Yes, we did dominate today. It was a magical time. Brett, if you got time, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday, join myself and Andre. We're going to be talking very heavily about all the records that were broken by Canada tonight. But in a wrap, Papa Smokes, this territory was fun. It's a very unique territory. It's got a lot of history. It doesn't have the same kind of controversies or anything like that you had with some of the other territories we've discovered. But overall, I'm happy that we were able to get to this one. As we've said before, we're kind of coming to the end of the initial list of the territories that are going to be covered. From there, we've already discussed ways that we're going to expand the show because people like it. They love this wrestling history. So we have ways that we will go about bringing you more professional wrestling history with Trip Through the Territories moving forward. Just might not be individual territories, might be specific people, might be worldwide stuff, whatever it is. It's going to be a great mix moving forward. And what do we got? Like about 5 or 6 more Papa Smokes, if that we have in the initial list.
That. Yeah, something like that. But guaranteed to all you listeners out there, we're not going to stop. There's a ton of wrestling. There's a ton of wrestling history. There are hundreds of years and a whole wide world out there to cover. So we're not stopping.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna keep going. So it means by the end of this year, maybe that initial list's done, but then we just start on to a whole new journey starting in 2027. Can't wait for it. It's gonna be fun. But we're coming up to the top of the hour, Papa Smokes, and we want people to have the good rest of their night so they can have some more cheers and beers as you're having there over on your side as well too. But in the meantime and in between time, Papa Smokes, that beautiful ticker's on the screen. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you, what you got coming up?
All right, everybody. I'm here every Thursday night online on the Ole Podcast Network and also the Video Bros on Ring Respect Radio. Other than that, I can be found on Elon Musk's free speech wonderland known as X. I am at smokes_papa and also on Twitch, allegedly at least, at papa_smokes_.
There you go. That's where you can find Bob Smokes. That's for myself, Bobby Munson. My credentials are on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. You can reach out to me on all social media. But you can also check me out here on the channel a little bit more. Like I said, 11 a.m. Eastern time this Sunday with Andre C. talking about the week in sports and heavily about the World Cup as always right now because it's World Cup season, baby. You can catch myself at Papa Smokes every Saturday over on YouTube at Prairie Pro Wrestling, where we are your commentary team. And we've got a doozy coming up this Saturday. A very, I'd say, confusing match in some ways, Papa Smokes, but we hope people watch it to find out what we mean by it. It's El Hijo de la Noches along with his special referee, Jorge, as he's taking on Rich King. You definitely don't want to miss out on that one. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. And also, like I said before, I've got my review of the movie Obsession coming out with Astrid, hopefully, if not by tomorrow, definitely by Saturday. So make sure to check that out. Thank you to everybody who's been live in the chat here with us, whether you're on the Video Bros Network or OLE Podcast. We appreciate you being here. If you're over on OLE Podcast, you can check us out on all social media as well as YouTube and Twitch, where we are partners on YouTube and Twitch. You can give us super chats, super stickers here on YouTube. Just going ahead and subscribing to the channel. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000. We have broken over 900 subs here on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed already. If you haven't, join in on the party, get in on those subs, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and leave us a comment in the comment section below. What were some of your favorite moments or favorite wrestlers from this specific territory? Let Papa Smokes and I know in the chat here on YouTube. Well, one thing you can also do before we end the show, we're say goodnight to the Mangler. Thank you for being here, Mangler. Appreciate you. If you're watching this, say about 24 hours or so approximately after this show is aired live, you pick up your mobile phone, you head on over to this exact stream like I've got right here live on the phone, and you go to the Hype Points. Hype Points, Papa Smokes, you get like 3 of those a week, and everybody who has a YouTube account can do this. You can give Hype Points to your favorite shows here on OLE Podcast, including this one right here. Twice, Papa Smokes and I have made that top 100 list here in Canada, and we want to go all the way to the top, baby, and with your help, we can do it. So if you can share that love as Papa Smokes leaves us hanging, I will say good night, Good luck to everybody, and we will see you next Thursday. Take care, everyone.